Before I start, I need to be clear. This video is not a hit piece on indie developers. Indie developers will want to have funding because they want to eat food. The devs behind these games are talented, hardworking, and deserve respect. This video targets the industry, the marketing, the award pundits, and the misuse of the term indie. Not the indie creators, but the system around them. All right. There was a time when indie meant independence, small teams, small budgets, people risking everything to make something weird and personal. Today, indie is a marketing buzzword. It gets slapped onto projects backed by millionaires, megacorps, and investment ecosystems. Players see indie and think underdog. Corporations see indie and think free goodwill. The term is broken, and the industry profits from keeping it broken. Let's start with the most absurd example, Annapurna Interactive. Annapurna Interactive is widely seen as the prestige indie publisher. They release incredible games. Yes, their developers are some of the most talented in the business. But let's talk about funding. The company was founded by Megan Ellison, daughter of Larry Ellison, a man whose net worth peaked in the centibillionaires. This is the man that founded Oracle, which has cahoots with the CIA. This isn't just rich, it is Olympus level wealthy. This is a type of wealth that billions of people, if not trillions, will never ever see in their lifetime combined. And their games, Stray, Outer Wilds, Cocoon, What Remains of Edith Finch, all nominated in Best Indie categories, which I respect because by definition they are wonderful indie games. These developers are insanely talented, but it's a little unethical to have this type of funding in the same category as truly small independent projects. It's pure marketing theater. Now, this one is going to be interesting. Sandfall Interactive, the developers of Expedition 33, Claire Obscure. Sandfall appeared out of nowhere with AAA level production. People immediately labeled them as Game of the Decade, ambitious new indie studio. But the founder comes from a family controlling MBO Plus investments. Mr. Richard Broach over here, MBO Plus, SC Broach, MYRTE Invest. The same MYRTE Invest that funded Sandfall Interactive. The creator or the founder of Sandfall Interactive, Broach, is by definition a trust fund kid. And there's no disrespect, okay? If I had a trust fund, I would use it to fund my dreams either. But let's be real now. The narrative around Expedition 33 is that it was a small team making a passion project, even though this guy has generational wealth on top of generational wealth. And publicly, there is no mention of the financial power behind this man. And the fact that this company, this publisher with a trust fund with millions, can be in the same category as, once again, smaller, very small indie projects it just feels unfair to me. It's convenience. It's an indie studio. Devolver Digital markets itself as the punk rock, chaotic, rule-breaking indie publisher. You know, Devolver Directs and all that. You know, we're the cool guys around here. But the truth, they are publicly traded. And they have been publicly traded for over 5 years at this point, over half a decade. They answer to shareholders and have major stakes held by Sony Interactive Entertainment, Sony Group Corporation, and NetEase Incorporated. This is corporate rock. Devolver does make great games happen, you know, Cult of the Lamb and all that. But calling them indie is like calling Pepsi a garage soda startup. I mean, let's be real. This isn't like small. This isn't like small investments. This is NetEase and Sony Group Corporation holding nearly 15% of your company. This is a very significant minority stake. And yet they still try to profit off of that indie goodwill that they have, answering to the man. And Dave the Diver was the funniest case. Everybody called it indie. The Game Awards, reviewers, streamers, gamers. Even though the devs quite literally had to say, we are not an indie game. Because the publisher was Nexon. If you guys don't know what Nexon is, this isn't just a AAA company. This is South Korean EA. Every mechanic that you hate in a video game, gotcha pawns, equipment breaking on use. I'm telling you, Nexon popularized that. The art style looked indie, the marketing felt indie, and the vibes were indie. And that's the problem. Just because a game looks indie doesn't mean that the game is indie or, well, has the indie spirit, because these games are being backed by millions upon millions of dollars while they compete with complete nobodies. I'm sorry. Because when billionaire-backed studios and publicly traded publishers enter indie spaces, they overshadow the actual tiny teams who need these indie platforms to survive. Awards flooded. Press flooded. Visibility flooded. I mean, Blueprints is not getting the talk that I think it deserves, even though it's a wonderful game. A solo dev who spent 3 years working off of savings is now competing with trust fund studio whose investors own buildings in Paris. The playing field is tilted off a cliff. It is damn near insurmountable. The collapse happened slowly. First was indie publishers, then indie with investors, then indie with megacorp backing, and then a publicly traded indie, and now we're billionaire funded indies. Now the label has stretched so far that literally anyone can wear it for good reason. Because indie is a cheat code. Indie has this connotation, this goodwill, that you're authentic, you're autistic, you're relatable, you're not one of those AAA bums. You're the underdog who has an artistic vision. It buys goodwill. It gets coverage. It gets its own type of awards. It's the perfect disguise. Corporate money wearing a handmade sweater. Of course, we don't need to ban anybody for this. We don't need purity testing. We don't need gatekeeping. We just need honesty. There has to be a category for big indies or small indies. Transparency in funding. Awards that don't pit trust fund studios against broke solo devs. Indie should mean something again, not cute art style or quirky brand or not funded by someone worth more than whole countries. Indie means independent. Full stop. And until the industry admits that, the illusion will stay alive and the smallest creators will keep getting unfairly crushed by it. Alright, yeah. This is my video on, like, the worst term in gaming. It's indie. It's indie.